Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WRRAP podcast. I'm Jamie and joining me as always is Harley and James. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Good evening.
Good
Not
evening.
doing too badly.
Good. Now, unfortunately, Lee can't be with us tonight. He's got some family stuff going on. So, of course, family does come first. So that's fair enough. But I'm pleased to say that we do still have a full house. So Carwyn Evans from the Scarlets Fever podcast is stepping in for Lee tonight. So Carwyn, how are we?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me on. It feels like a great day to make my debut on the WRRAP podcast with a few big announcements happening, obviously.
Yeah, there's plenty to get our teeth into, including our Wales squad announcement, which was announced earlier today. And yeah, there's some interesting selections, shall we say, and we'll get into it a bit later. But let's start, as we always do, with Drink of the Week. So, Harley, what have you got for us this week?
So I've cracked up another bottle from my ventures down to Tory Fest, or the Devon County Show as it's properly known. So this is Bay's Top Sale. So it's just a nice Devon Amber Ale. Again, it's very safe, middle of the road, nice best bitter. It's where I thrive.
Lovely stuff. What about you, James? What have you got?
I have gone for spilling it. Northern Monk DDH IPA. It's called Faith in Futures. It's a charity beer. It was the only. I think it was the only one on the shelf I hadn't actually chosen yet in Morrison's. So, or the ones that look nice anyway. So I will be tucking into that throughout the show.
Okay, lovely stuff. You've had a few Northern Monk beers on the pod, haven't you? They seem to be a brand that you're into.
I've had one. I think I've had two. I think, but they are genuinely quite nice, and they're a different brand than what I normally go for. In terms of APA.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Carwyn, have you got a drink for us?
I have indeed. Yes, even though a late call up, I managed to find this in the back of a cupboard. It's from one of those birthday Christmas box sets you get. So it's Harper's Brewing Company IPA, a proper hoppy IPA. It says proudly brewed in Britain. So if I pull a funny face, it's obviously not as nice as it sounds.
That does sound quite nice, actually. I probably like trying that. What have I got? I got Beach Lager from Tenby Brewery. It's only 3.4%. It's quite a weak lager, but it doesn't taste like a weak lager, in fairness. So not much in the way of wanky bollocks on the can. Oh, by the way, we've had a few people asking me what is wanky bollocks. It's basically the description of the drink on the side of the can. And sometimes, as we all know, it can be quite pretentious. So it's been a running joke on the show. So yeah, in terms of wanky bollocks, it says, Beach Lager, laid back and refreshing. This easy drinking lager is crisp and clean with a subtle malt and hop character. Drink it chilled on the beach or wherever. And to be fair, it is quite refreshing and crisp. It's actually a quite nice lager. It's not going to get you pissed on 3.4%, but yeah, it's quite tasty. It's a perfectly fine, as me and Gavin say on the Dragon's Lair pod. It's a perfectly fine lager. So that's Beach Lager from Tenby Brewery. Right, okay, so that's our drinks done. Let's get into news desk. Now, I haven't got much in the way of news, but there was one story that caught my eye last week. So, Wales Online are reporting that 33-year-old Liam Williams is seeking a return to Wales and that 3 Welsh teams are interested in signing him. They are Cardiff, Dragons and Ospreys. Now, Liam Williams has another year left on his 2-year deal, but the report says that he is keen on a move back to Wales with his wife Sophie, having announced they are expecting their first child later this year. So for me, there's 2 questions regarding this. The first one is it worth a Welsh team signing Liam Williams, given his injury record and his international commitments? And he's not going to come cheap, let's face it. Even if you do get him on reduced terms, he won't come cheap. And the second question I have for you is, if he was to come back for Wales, where would be the best place for him? What region would be the best fit? Let's start with you there, Carwyn. What do you think? Liam Williams, is it worth a Welsh team signing?
I don't think so. I think for the reasons you listed there, in terms of availability, injuries, and wage, I'd say there were 3 heavy reasons why the Scarlets why he left. To start off with, And in terms of if he was to sign for a Welsh team, if we sort of look at the setup in the regions, Cardiff have got Cam Wynedd, the future, as it seems, of Welsh rugby at fullback. Why would you bring in Liam Williams? Max Nagy is doing a very good job at the Ospreys. And is it the sort of signing that the Dragons need? As in, yes, he's got experience. Yes, he could be influential in the dressing room, but as in, he doesn't strike me as somebody who'd take a youngster under his wing and mentor him to be the next great fullback. I might be wrong there, as in, this is just sort of my opinion on what I see. So based on those facts, I don't think it's value for money with his age as well, as in it's sort of, it'd be a marketing signing more than a rugby signing, in my opinion.
That's fair enough. Harley, Cardiff is one of these teams that's interested in Liam Williams. Does that surprise you, given how terribly well it went last time with the injury? Are you surprised by that? Would you have him back?
In fairness, when he did play, he was excellent. Might have been worth his money. And at the time, he was part of the elite 38. So we only paid, the fact they only played 20% of the games was fine because we only paid for 20% of his time anyway.
Exactly.
Now we've got to pay for the lot. And as Carwyn pointed out, we've got Cam Wynedd. We've also got Jacob Beetham, who is also really good. And both of these are currently in Gatland squads. We'll get onto it. So we've already got 2 players who are going to fuck off to Wales. And we've got some very nice, promising academy lads behind them. The last thing we need is another, a more Wales squad members. Because as we know, the Welsh teams get, because one big bit of news that happened last week was the fixtures got announced. And we're all being shafted with the same South Africa tour to end the game when the South African teams need to pick up easy points. And we all seem to be getting the Leinsters, like the Leinsters, the Bulls, whatever, during the Six Nations. So we're already getting shafted. Why would we want to risk a precious place in our squad for another player? I agree with Carwyn. Dragon's probably the most sensible because of the perceived weakness at fullback. But then when Kai Evans and Angus O'Brien are fit, is he? I mean, I'd argue he's a better player as a fullback than Kai Evans when fit. Again, you then have you go back to the same issues. I think the best thing for him, if he is coming back, is probably try and pick up a Premiership side. But then they're limited on the number of non-Welsh, non-English qualified players they're allowed to pick. So it is a case of, well, where does he go? And I said, I mean, the Ospreys, as well as Max Nagy, you've got, I'm sure James will go through the full list of brilliant fullbacks he's got coming through, but you've got, Jack Walsh has been playing a lot there as well with, the emergence of Dan Edwards, who's, when his few appearances have been fantastic. I don't see I just don't see the logic in it.
No, it's fair enough. So, James,
I'll get on to my opinions on Liam Williams in the Wales squad when we get onto it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been included in the Wales squad. So, James, if Ospreys, for example, announced Liam Williams has signed, how would you feel about that?
Well, I wouldn't have a choice, really.
But how would you feel about it?
You don't get to give your opinions for FIFA. I think, of course, you can't, for God, how long now Liam Williams has been up there in terms of ability. And I fucking hated him when he played for the Scarlets. I hated him. I was telling you on Saturday, Boxing Day games when Scarlets used to come to the Liberty, and my whole family would be sat there just shouting, and the whole of the East Stand would just be shouting at Liam Williams in unison, calling them all sorts. But his talent's unbelievable. That 2017 Lions tour, 2019 World Cup. You can't deny the bloke's talent. In terms of him being an Osprey, I am weary. On one hand, the one area we probably struggle with and gets highlighted a lot is we have a very small back three. All right, Max Nagy's not small, but his aerial game is probably not where it needs to be right now. It's something he's developing. So in that sense, it makes us a better team because high balls become less of an issue. On the other hand, is you've got your value for money. Are we going to see him? 33. Realistically, he's got a year, maybe 2, depending on the sort of injuries to come win it and beat them, of Wales duty, and on top of that, injuries. So no, I don't think it's value for money. I think if we were to sign him, it'd have to be on like a pay per play deal, where the terms of his employment would have to be set out very, very clearly in that if you are here, you're playing. And, like Ospreys did with Don Morris, if you're injured all the season, we're just going to fuck you off. Same with Toby Fricker, didn't activate his 1-year extension, things like that. So there'd have to be, and this goes for all 3 of the regions that are interested in him, there has to be some firm boundary set in place if you were going to sign someone like Sanjay.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. So Stephen Thomas did a follow-up article about this, but it's behind the paywall, and I do subscribe to the Wales Online newsletter that him and Ben James writes. It's quite good in fairness. And he said the best place for Sanjay would be at the Dragons because, he would add a bit of stardust, he would add experience. Carwyn was saying earlier that be a mentor to the younger players. Would I want Liam Williams at the Dragons? No, I don't think I would for the reasons I've already outlined. The fact he gets called up for Wales. How many times would he play for the Dragons? He's clearly in Warren Gatman's plans, as we've seen today. His injury record is very off-putting. In the past few years, Liam have had really bad injuries. He hasn't had much rugby. And okay, if you do reduce his wages, because he will have to take a pay cut if he comes to one of the regions, he's not going to play for peanuts, is he? He's still going to command a pretty decent wage. So I just think that's a luxury the Dragons don't need. And, Kai Evans, I quite like him at fullback. We got Angus O'Brien. Ewan Ross now is coming through. And Doug Flanagan's talked about him developing as a fullback. I don't think it's a position we desperately need. I would say fly half is a more important position for the Dragons. So, yeah, for me, if we sign Liam Williams, I wouldn't be ecstatic over the moon. No, I do appreciate Liam Williams' ability as a player. I think he's been a fantastic player, but also the age 33, it's a bit too risky for me. And I'm surprised, actually, that any Welsh region is seriously looking at Liam Williams. But let's be honest, this is for Team Wales, isn't it? Gatman wants him back because he can look after him in Wales. He doesn't play as many games and he's available whenever he wants him. So it suits Team Wales more than it would suit the regions. And that's what it's all about. That's another reason I don't like it. It just feels like, let's put him with the Dragons because it's convenient if he plays here because I can have access to him whenever I like, and I don't really like that way of thinking, to be honest, So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, Liam Williams is being linked to a move to Wales. So we'll see how that story develops. Now, before we move on to Judgment Day, it's time for a word on our sponsors, Manscaped. James, tell us all about Manscaped then, please.
So, we've been really lucky to be contacted by the guys at Manscaped. And, it is really my pleasure to announce that smooth sack summer is officially upon us. Now, whether you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. So, thank you to our friends at Manscaped for allowing us to give you the opportunity to make this your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5 is the ultimate bundle to keep your sort of downstairs cool. 10 million people worldwide trust Manscaped, and they've been really kind enough to give us an offer code. So at checkout, use the code RugbyBalls and you'll get 20% off and free shipping. Now, I've got with me my Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. For those on the YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, this is a hefty bit of kit, all right? Everyone knows how scary it could be when you go down there, close shave, below the belt. So their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. They also have dual LED spotlights to help with that multiple skin tones, 3 lengths combs, and did I mention that this is waterproof too? Take it to the beach, take it to the lake, or even your shower, it'll still work. So, like I said, get 20% off and free shipping with the code RugbyBalls at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping. We'll be promoting it on the socials all week. And just once again, we want to say a big thank you to our friends over at Manscaped for sponsoring the whole of the WRRAP family this month.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still waiting for mine. Mine must be lost in the post. But yes, I'm looking forward to receiving my gift from Manscaped. And like I said, we will put that out in the show notes as well, the promo code and a link to the product. It's really good. It's a good product, doesn't it? I've heard really good things about it. So yeah, excellent stuff. Thank you to Manscaped. Okay, let's talk about Judgment Day. 2 games, one not so good, one quite good. Let's start off with the first game. Actually, before I go into it, can I just say, James, you was with me as well. How many people were coming up to us and recognised us from the WRRAP pod? It was a really weird moment. There was a group of Scarlets fans, wasn't there, in the queue? They were like, are you from the pod? They knew straight away they were lovely. And then there was a few more people in the stadium coming up to us and recognising us, saying, how much they enjoy the pod, and they listen to us, which is really nice, actually, because I think we've built a nice community now on this pod. It does feel a bit weird when someone comes up to you like, oh, you're Jamie from the pod. I do get a little bit embarrassed by it, but I really appreciate anyone who came up to me and James and said they listen to the pod and they enjoy it. That's great, because it means that somebody's actually listening to us and they enjoy what we do. So it was nice, wasn't it, James?
Absolutely, and sort of people of all ages as well. I think it's quite weird that I'm aware that I'm 26 years old, so I wasn't in and around the heydays of rugby. And Harley's not much older than me either, but so we weren't around in like the glory days or even the doldrums of the 90s. So I appreciate that when we talk about Welsh rugby, we're talking about from a perspective where realistically we've only ever seen Wales win things. So absolutely brilliant. Really, really, and we gained a follower as well. The guy who sat in front of us with his dad. He was really, everyone around was great. And if you're ever at games, please please come say hi. And we genuinely do like this community that we've built here at WRRAP.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, anyone who said hello to us on Saturday, if you listened to this, thanks very much. It is appreciated. So, okay, let's get to that first game then. Scarlets 32, Dragons 15. So let's start with you then, Carwyn. Look, let's be honest about it. That was a low quality game between 2 poor teams. But from the Scarlets perspective, it must be really good to end the season on a high, isn't it? So, what did you make of Saturday's game at the CCS?
That's exactly it, to be honest. It was in 3 weeks ago on the Scarlets Viewer podcast and the Welsh Language podcast. I called for the Scarlets to end the season with 2 bonus point wins. Neither performance has been pretty. Neither performance has been that good. But they got the 2 bonus point wins, which hopefully builds a bit of momentum for them going into preseason and then into next season. Because let's be honest, anybody associated with the Scarlets does not want to see another season like that. It's been a shambles, a shit show, whatever you want to call it. It's been one to forget. And whilst the quality's not been there in the 2 wins, they've got over the line. And it's just been one of those where you take a win where you can get it and enjoy those wins, because there haven't been many at all this year.
And what stood out for you from the Scarlets' performance? Any standout players? What impressed you?
I think it was how clinical they were, because obviously I think it was something like 5.2 points on average visit to the 22 they scored on Saturday, which is something they haven't really done this season. They haven't been that clinical, but it was just nice to see them get points when they did visit 22 and not just not really settle for 3 either, unless sort of towards the end, take it out of the 2 converted try just to get that 3rd score required. But yeah, it was just the way, I guess the way they've stuck it as well, because it would have been quite easily for them just to write this year off and forget about the last month or so. But they seem to have come together as a squad and said, right, let's try and salvage this season. And whilst I think salvage is a strong word, I certainly think they've ended in a better way than maybe a lot of fans expected 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked to me like Scarlets wanted this more, because listening to Dwayne Peel's comments in the week, he said that we owe the Dragons one because, we did thump the Scarlets at Judgement Day last year. We beat them already at Rodney Parade. Yes, we were fortunate with that. Sam Costello missed kick in front of the post. But it seemed to me that Scarlets used that motivation and they wanted to do a job on the Dragons. And they certainly did, didn't they? Did you find that? Did you think there was more intent and aggression in the Scarlets, particularly in their defence? I thought they defended really well, actually.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're probably right about needing to get back at the Dragons, because at Judgment Day, I've never felt that we've been up for it as much as the Dragons. It's always felt like even when we've won, which doesn't happen often at Judgment Day, we sort of stole it away. We've not really been up for it. But on Saturday, yeah, especially in defence. And whilst I didn't agree with all the officiating calls with some of the tackles, it was nice to see them getting stuck in. And even when Kieran Hardy came on, I think it was in the 74th or the 75th minute, he sort of ran behind the front line of the Dragons and made the tackle behind the offensive line. So even for the 80 minutes, they seemed like they wanted the win. And I think they've showed glimpses of that all season, but the defending hasn't been good enough. On Saturday, it felt like they finally got that right, and which is a bit late for the season now, but better late than ever, I guess, when it comes to getting things right. But hopefully, because the majority of the team that started on Saturday will likely start again next season, so it's hope now that they can build it. I know players that did start will depart, but on the whole, that squad seems like it'll still be there. So hopefully they can just start building from this now, really, and get a better start next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from a Dragons perspective, it was just another very poor performance in what has been another very poor season. And I just found it really ironic that Dragons named their team 2 days early. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it was an attempt at mind games, trying to install a bit of confidence. So you're thinking, all right, okay, they're naming their team early. They fancy this. And because they have had the wood over the Scarlets in recent seasons, especially in Judgment Day, you're thinking, okay, showing a bit of confidence, fine. But then they turn up to Judgment Day and they put in a performance like that. It was just very, very meek. I mean, the Dragons website described the performance as subdued. And you're thinking, well, why was it subdued? This is a game that we normally get up for. And it's just very difficult to take positives out of that. I mean, individually, there were some good performances. I thought Joe West was excellent again.
Yeah.
Very big talent. Played the full 80, carried well. Chris Hollis, the South African wing, I thought he looked dangerous whenever he had the ball. I could see the Scarlets signing him up on a permanent deal. Dimitri Arhip instantly turned around the Dragons scrum. And look, I love Wyn Jones. I think he's really good. But by God, he took him to the cleaners at scrum time. He folded him like a deck chair. It's mad, isn't it? If you play a scrummaging tight head, you will have a better scrum. Who would have thought it? But you'll definitely get a new contract, Dimitri. I think it's worth giving him a 1-year deal. Co Tompkins took his try as well. And Shea Hope, the young scrum half, added a bit of zip when he came off the bench. I have to say, I thought the scrum halves, the halfbacks were quite poor for the Dragons. I thought Reid and Roger Williams did not have a good game. And it was just really painful to watch, as it has been all season. Because I said to you, didn't I, James? Like, the Dragons attack, is there a more clueless team in attack than the Dragons?
Yeah, the Ospreys.
Oh, no, not as bad as the Dragons, mate. Not as bad as the Dragons. I mean, the Ospreys know what they're doing. The Dragons don't. They are absolutely clueless with ball in hand. Players crabbing across the pitch, players running into each other, coughing up possession, interceptions. And look, Matt O'Brien has done really good work with the Dragons Academy. But I don't know why he's doing the Dragons backs, because we have got the worst attack in the league according to URC stats. So that needs to be sorted. It was just another very forgettable performance, wasn't it, for the Dragons? And it's a shame because I think Judgment Day is a better day when all 4 teams are competitive and they're up for it. And the Dragons didn't play their part, and there was a lot of Dragons fans there. There was a lot of kids wearing Dragons shirts, and I feel sorry for them, because they have to grow up watching this hapless team. But sorry, Carwyn, what was you going to say?
Well, I was going to say about the poor attack. I think 2 bits summed it up for me. Was the when Eddie James was sin-binned and the Dragons were camped in the 22 for a while then, it took an age for them to realise if we ship the ball out wide, there might be space there. Because Steph Hughes did the crossfield kick in the end. Almost as if he'd given up hope on anybody passing it out wide. And then the interception pass when Dyer just crabbed across the field. And
yeah,
I don't know if it was a lack of trust in his teammates or not seeing the pass, because there were people running off giving options, but he held on for it too long, and in the end chucked a pass towards the direction he couldn't see, and it was inevitable really that there'd be an interception. But I find it interesting as well, you're saying about Judgment Day, people being up for it. Wales were announcing their squad today. I think this has probably been one of the, or could have been one of the most eagerly awaited Wales squad announcements in a while, because there were so many positions up for grabs with injuries, people not in form. And if you can't get up for that, I don't know what you can get up for, really, playing for your region.
No, I agree. It was an audition for all 4 teams, isn't it,
Yeah,
to show
exactly
what they could do.
Chance
But
for them all,
on the Scrum 5 television show last night, it was mentioned that Dragons have finished bottom of the Welsh pile 16 times in 21 seasons now. It can't go on like this. Something has got to change. And my concern is, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, when Field Tia comes in, he's going to sort out the men from the boys. He'll come in and sort it all out. And I'm just worried that Dragons fans think that he's got his magic wand. He's just going to wave around Ronnie Parade, and all of a sudden they're going to install a winning mentality and make everything better, because it won't. It's going to take time. When you've got years and years of failure, and even Di Flanagan admitted in Wales Online, he said, there is a mentality issue here. So the question is, how do you address that? How do you overturn the mental block? And this is a team that's so used to losing. I don't know how you're going to turn it around. I don't think Field Tia is just going to come in straight away and make all these changes. But it's just been really depressing and quite grim. And like I said, when there's this big debate at the moment between cutting the team, we're constantly hearing, isn't there, Wales cutting the team, going down to 3 regions. The Dragons are not doing anything to change the narrative. They are not doing anything to prove people wrong, are they? They're not. They should be fighting harder.
Not what your new CEO says.
Well, we can talk about that if you want, because I actually feel for Rhys Brother, because I think he's been slightly misquoted in what he said. But what do you make of it, what he said then?
I think it was... I'm in 2 minds there, because if he was genuinely misquoted, then fair enough. And there's different things going around on X, and I want to just put it out there now. I'm not accusing anyone of misquotation. I believe Steph Thomas was the interviewer and the writer of the article. Yeah. From an Ospreys point of view, it just felt very, it felt very sly. That you just sort of, you cannot use the words stability and there's stats flying around that you finished bottom 16 of 21 seasons. You've not got, in terms of the rugby playing side of it, you're arguably the poorest point you've been in a while. It's your 2nd worst season ever. I believe statistically. It just felt like sort of left field, like, whoa, no, we've not done anything to you. Like, and all of a sudden you've come swinging from the fences, Like, it was just really weird. And I don't know what it was meant to do, like, because it obviously came out on Judgment Day for a reason. I was reading it on the train up. And I just thought, is this meant to like light a fire under your belly? Is this like meant to get you, as a Dragons fan, like, hyped up? I don't get what it was for. And it sort of translates to how I felt about that game. Because we got there and the atmosphere was flat. No one really... And look, all credit to Scarlets for getting the win. I thought they were good value for the win. Carwyn said they were clinical, which is not something we can say about the Scarlets this year. But let's make no bones about it. This was 2 poor teams.
Oh yeah,
this was 2 crap teams who are going to go through who have to go through big rebuilds and have meaningful results next year. We were talking to Hugh Griffin at the game, and we were saying that realistically, at minimum, Scarlets have to win 3 of the first 6 before, which is before Boxing Day, right? At minimum, he said 4, but I said 3. To be nice, you play Benetton and you play Cardiff twice. Which, I mean, to be fair, you're playing Cardiff as a guaranteed 2 wins, because Cardiff genuinely cannot beat the Scarlets at top. But there has to be. And the same with Dragons. I'll go back to the Dragons. Sorry. Philo Titi is going to come in. He was there at the game yesterday. he will have seen bits, and there were bits like Joe Westwood reminds me of like a young Foxy in that defensive leader role. You can see his tackle selection is brilliant. He's not perfect by far, but I think he was able to shut down Scarlet's attack, especially as soon as he gets to that second man, quite well. You can see right what they want to do with Ryan Woodman. They really want to sort of almost like an All Black. They use him in the wide channels a lot. And obviously we know what our hip can do, and it just shows that what Dragons have been missing is a scrummaging titan, because Rodrigo Jones and Rodrigo Martes can't do it all. There are green shoots, but Dragons have to put their money. If you're going to come out with your new CEO and start swinging like that, you have to put your money where your mouth is. You have to start showing it now, because that. Speaking to a lot of Ospreys fans, that turned a lot of people off to the Dragons, who we don't mind. We have nothing against the Dragons at all. It's sort of like it's not a rivalry, if that makes sense, because we're, so far away. So,
Okay, I'm going to stick up for Rhys Blumberg here, okay? Because I think when I said he was misquoted, I think a lot of Ospreys misinterpreted what he said. So when he's talking about stable, he's not talking about on the field. What he said was commercial revenues have gone up and the revenues have gone up, and he's talking about the Rodney Parade, the fact that they own their own ground. And what he actually said was the Ospreys are currently seeking a new home, which creates a bit of instability. And listen to this. He said, I am not for 1 second suggesting they are unstable in terms that they are going to go bust, but I think the fact that they haven't got a ground as things stand and are still trying to work that out doesn't create the same sort of stability as the Dragons, who are very firmly at home at Rodney Parade. That is a very reasonable statement to make, because he is right. Because the fact of the matter is we don't know where Ospreys are going to be playing. That does create a level of instability. You haven't got the assets. This isn't in having a dig at the Ospreys, but the problem is when I went on Twitter, there were Ospreys fans saying, oh, look at the remarks he's making about the Ospreys. He's suggesting that they want to close us down. He didn't say that. That is not what Rhys Blumberg said. And he wasn't implying that. He's just pointed out that with Rodney Parade, they have a secure, stable home, and the Ospreys haven't at this moment in time. That's all he was saying.
Ospreys playing the victims? Surely not.
Equally, Cardiff don't own their ground.
No, they don't.
And I would say it's a very unstable situation.
Scarlets pay a loan, paying off a loan from Commandership Council for their ground.
Yeah, but they know where they're going to be playing, don't they? We know Cardiff are going to be based. Yeah.
But Ospreys know where they're going to be playing. Ospreys know.
Well, it's between Bridgend or Swansea, apparently, isn't it?
But they know where they're going to play next season. They're not home. People are acting as if Ospreys are homeless now. They're not. Yeah. All they're doing is reacting to the fact that there's more and more football fixtures now that clash with Burke fixtures.
Yeah.
So it does create a period of instability.
I think the problem is the fact
that's all he said.
Is the fact that at the time when Welsh regions need to be united in a front.
Yes, I agree.
In creating a stable environment for all 4 regions, to say that on the showpiece, for that to come out on the showpiece event of the year, just feels a bit of an ill taste. And none of us really want to see 3 regions. And if CEOs are bickering about, oh, we've got this, you haven't got this, it doesn't feed down well to the fans, which then creates an argument on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever other social media platform we might be on. And yeah, it just creates an unneeded divide, I think, at the moment within Welsh rugby.
Yeah,
I don't think that was his intention, though. Do you know what I mean? Because he was asked by Stephen Thomas, you say the Dragons are the most stable of the 4 regions, why? And what he's doing is explaining why, but he's talking about off the field. I don't think he meant it as a dig to the Ospreys. I think Ospreys fans took that out of context, to be honest with you. What I would have said personally is I can't speak for the other regions, but I can only speak for ourselves. And I know that we are very stable. That's how I would have approached it, because then you sort of don't mention anybody then and you sort of get away with it a little bit. But, what he was saying was statement. It was fact. It was fact. So,
the timing
wasn't great either.
It's a weird timing.
It wasn't a great time to put it out. And then, of course, Dragons play like they did at Judgement Day. And then, that's when the emotions start kicking in and everyone's saying, oh, look at the CEO coming up swinging, and all this. And Dragons are shit. And, they've always been rubbish. That's part of the problem. I don't think the timing was great. But in terms of what you actually said, it was factually correct and I don't have an issue with it. But anyway, that is Scarlets Dragons. Moving on to a much better game, a decent game between two decent teams, Cardiff Ospreys. So going into this game, the Ospreys had a 2% probability rate, but results elsewhere meant that the Ospreys just needed a bonus point win to get it done. And I'm really pleased that there was actually something riding on this game, because we was at the stadium, wasn't we, James? It was flat. It was really flat for that Scarlets Dragons game. I think it needed something on the line. It needed something to play for. So you could feel there was a lot of buzz around Osprey supporters, and it was a much better atmosphere during this game than the first game. I have to say that. So, James, you must be buzzing. You got the job done. You're in the playoffs. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, we were sat in the pub before, and I was sort of getting updates from Robbie and Yestin, who were sort of telling me what was happening with the Lions and the Benetton games. And then we literally, as we're getting into the stadium, we hear that, shit, all the results have gone our way, which has not happened. We've won games, but our luck has been horrific this season. Like, our season could have genuinely hinged on Alex Cuthbert's hamstring, like denying us 2 points at Munster. Harley, stop giving me eyebrows.
He does that, doesn't he? If he says something, he pricks the eyebrows out.
One dodgy decision in Ulster, and you think, look,
we've had dodgy decisions all season.
Stop giving away red cards.
They're the dodgy decisions by the players doing stupid things.
Yeah, so the fact that we had something riding on this, and do you know what it really helped with as a spectator? Because I obviously we were in the stadium, so we didn't see this, but it gave the game a narrative. Like, not to quote Rygbi inside line because I hate him, but he's right. Rugby does need a narrative. Like, the best think of the best games, like going in. Look at Wales England 2013. Wales needed to win by so many points to get the championship. The Lions of the same year, Dodd and Jamie Roberts and Foxy and things like that. All these different narratives, they make a game. So when you say you're coming to this game, Ospreys need a bonus point win and they're in the playoffs because they had a 2 to 5% chance of getting in there on Friday morning, that is mental. That is genuinely, but that's what the fans want. There's jeopardy. So, and Cardiff then become the pantomime villains because they can spoil the party, And as we found out, everyone hates the capital. As we found out on X this weekend. But in terms of the actual game, from the stands, it was tense. But actually, I thought it was more and more tense on telly when I've watched it back. I was like, it didn't really seem, but the hits were going in, the carrying was on point. 2 young 10s. Well, I say 2 young 10s when sort of Ben Thomas went to 10. You've got dynamic back rows. You've got the monstrosity of Ospreys pack, and then the sort of the finely tuned machine of the Cardiff back line. You've got specimens like Mason Grady. Cabango finished that try right in front of us, and it was genuinely outstanding.
Great finish, wasn't it?
But then you saw that sort of chalk and cheese, the raw power of that Ospreys penalty try was also right in front of us. So it was genuinely such a good game to watch. And we're not the biggest fans of Tom Shanklin, but he said after the game that it was one of the best Welsh derbies in years. I can't think of a better Welsh derby in a while. Maybe Dragon Scarlets in New Year's Day. Oof, I was a humdinger.
No, it really wasn't.
But I was just buzzing. I'm glad.
It was,
I'm glad Cardiff got that last try because it made the game just a bit more tense. It was a bit like, ooh, hello, because they missed the penalty. A minute ago, they would have made it 32.
Conversion,
Dan Edwards missed one as well. So it was just, it was great fun. I genuinely you could feel the excitement. And Cardiff somehow found about 3,000 fans during the second half. Where we were sat, there were no Cardiff fans making any noise.
They're just not used. They were just not used to having to walk from the City Arms to the City Stadium, so it took them that extra 40 minutes.
Half,
they were sinking
half.
their point, thinking, right, kickoff's at 5, therefore, we need to leave the pub at 5 too.
Me, Hugh, and Jamie got up and was like, "Where the fuck have all these come from?"
Yeah.
Where,
they did
where
appear
have
out
these
of
been?
nowhere, didn't they? They did appear out of nowhere. But it was a really good game, wasn't it?
Really
in
good
fairness?
game, yeah.
And Harley, let's talk about Cardiff then. To be fair, they played their part in a really good contest. And what I've really admired about Cardiff, and I hate saying this, obviously, but what I really admire about them is the never give up attitude. They really did battle hard, and Ospreys had to work extremely hard, didn't they, for that for their bonus point win. So I don't want to say, because I know you think I'm taking the piss, but I was going to say you must be proud. But, I'm not saying it to take the piss, but honestly, it was a good performance to end, what has been a difficult but encouraging season, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, that game pretty much was the perfect, if you want to watch Cardiff season back in a very short amount of time, just watch that game, because I think it was absolutely perfect. It was some dogged defence that, was holding the Ospreys out for Ailton and basically until they just battered and gave way. We had a winger score a fantastic try, then pull up injured almost immediately after. There was a couple of red cards. We got 2 losing bonus points. Yeah, it was genuinely just how our season. Go and just put some numbers back on what James was saying about the physicality. So Cardiff made 14 dominant tackles, Ospreys made 15, and Welsh regions never get that sort of dominant tackle numbers. We just don't, and I think you're right. It's probably one of the best Welsh derbies in forever. And I'm glad that Cardiff, just didn't make it a procession for Ospreys. And right up until that point when Ray Lilo goes in, gets stopped just short of the line. I'm actually surprised that there was no actual serious conversation around penalty try for that one. But and actually imagine how much more tense it would have been if that had been given as a penalty try and then you had the restart. But I mean, as in terms of narrative, I say loving Ospreys going on the whole narrative thing, because they're going up against the kings of narrative this weekend in Munster. How good would the narrative be? Munster, for the first time ever, had not the underdogs in a knockout and lose. I really want it to happen. And Munster is my one of my secret second teams, but it'd just be so good.
Who stood out to you, Harley? So if you tell me who stood out for you from an Ospreys point of view, I'll tell you who stood out to me from a Cardiff point of view.
Ospreys point of view, I thought once again Dan Edwards ran the show brilliantly. I think James Ratty again, absolutely phenomenal. I think it's criminal he's not in the Wales squad.
I thought that was one of his quieter games, but he was still good.
He was not out and out thing, but it was all the shit things.
Yeah.
Justin Tipuric seemingly has not cut his hair since his last Wales cap, and he's getting more powerful because of it. He should have grown it long years ago. Jack Morgan again looks like he hasn't missed a day. It's 6. I'll be honest, backlines. I actually thought both Giles and Luke Morgan had really good games, really underrated. Nagy probably on the quieter side for me. I think that's
I've got a thing about the Ospreys' backs and how they played. But from a Cardiff point of view, obviously Ben Thomas is a standout. He was great. I do want to put out there that he was better at Cardiff were better, and De Beer was at 10 and he was at 12. He is not a primary 10 option. The bits where Ben Thomas was really good were individual moments of brilliance that could have happened when he was at any position on the field. Actually, when Cardiff went to him at 10, they looked a bit more flat. They was it the first play? Ben Thomas throws that forward pass to Azarate in the midfield, or is it he throws a pass to Azarate in the midfield who runs that car line, and then he gets held up by Kieran Williams and Dan Edwards, who has the combined weight of two small children. There needs to be some slowing down a bit on the Ben Thomas at 10.
I do want to put in a thing. So I think the reason why De Beer Ben Thomas works so well is you never know which one's popping up at 10, which one's popping up at 12. And I think when De Beer went off, we had Thomas, Halaholo, Lilo. That's a very direct midfield. So you don't have that second playmaker. And I think that's when Beetham came on then came on, it's sort of got a little bit better, but then Beetham hasn't had as much time to play with Ben Thomas. So I think, again, you haven't. So, I mean, a match out attack works best with two out-and-out playmakers. So I think Ben Thomas and Beetham could work as a 10-12 or a 10-15, but they've not played. So Ben Thomas in there. I do agree with you, though. I think he's a fantastic inside centre. I think he is probably the inside centre Gatland's looking to play. If you look at the way he's been using Nick Tompkins, I think he's actually a fantastic, and I think he's a better carrying option than Nick Tompkins. He's a better passer than Nick Tompkins, and he has a decent kicking game. The one thing, I'm speaking of kicking game, the one thing I do wish we do next season is tell De Beer, don't bother about kicking at goals. You don't have to worry about that. Let Ben Thomas do it. His goal kicking is far better.
Unless it's in front of the posts.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, even Santos Zeller, he's the number one choice for 10, so that's a given.
The last 2 points I've got is the Mason Grady, right? Great going forward, but on the wing, his defensive positioning is awful.
Yeah. He was
at fault for most of what Ospreys did well. So if
he
you
look, he puts that defensively.
He puts that kick in. He puts that kick in that gets charged down slightly. It goes to Nagy, which then leads to Tipperick try. He is in no man's land for the Luke Morgan try. He then rushes up to basically try to smash Luke Morgan or Dan Edwards. Completely misses. Edwards goes down the wing on that lovely break, who then puts that kick in and puts Ben Thomas under pressure, who drops it over the line, which then leads to the fourth try. So it's telling that Mason Grady is listed as a centre for Wales. And that obviously...
he's been listed in a harder place to defend. And actually, if you've watched him play the last few games, he's defended very well.
No,
I think a big part of it is just the shock of us. So I think the whole Kabanga going off early, then you had Gabe Webb going off for HRA quite early on as well, and him being shunted to the wing probably a bit earlier than we would have planned.
But
I think that did mess with things a little bit.
Yeah, if I was Cardiff, I would be weird. I have one eye open around it. The other thing is, you mentioned about Ospreys backline. For 2 weeks now, we've had to play a certain style of rugby that ensures we have to get 4 tries. So when you do that, and I said this in the ground to Jamie and who we were offloading when it's not on. We were doing things that we wouldn't normally do as a team because we were so desperate to get the 4th try. If you look, as soon as we get that 4th try, shoulders relax a bit. We go back to type. It's really. I think actually you'll see. I think we'll see an improvement in the attack against Munster, ironically, because we're not forced to do unnatural play. I think you go back to eking penalties out of teams, kicking for the corner, not flinging it wide unneeded. So yeah, that's it.
I'm going to go back to what I said last week though about this for the same thing. You've got to average 1 try every 20 minutes. There's no need to try and get all 4 of them in the first 10, which is something a lot of teams are guilty of at bonus points. Like, I feel like you probably could have done a much more solid job if you basically did the same thing you did Boxing Day, which was the slow grind all the way through. One thing I would say is both teams had a 50% or less scrum success rate, and I think a large part of that was the refereeing of it. Because I don't think the ref just had any idea what was going on. And it was basically depending which side. He just wanted to ping the loose heads.
That was the pitch thing, because both got pinged for feet being too far back and flopping over.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that pitch seemed a bit odd because we had 2 wingers go off with
it was greasy.
What was supposedly innocuous slips out of nowhere, which potentially could have ended seasons if it happened.
I don't think anyone here is going to have any complaints about Seb Davis's red card either.
No, I'll be honest. Frankly, there should be like 3.
Yeah.
Or also he needed a red card and a pink card with yellow polka dots and a dunce cap.
I presume he's got plans this summer and didn't want to go on the Wales tour.
he's going Gran Canaria or something, isn't he?
So,
dear.
We had some word through through the Cardiff Central podcast because we actually got a lovely message from Matt Sherritt today saying about how much the boys appreciated pods. So, we are actually reaching players as well as fans, which is nice to know.
That's nice.
But But they're saying this is something he's been working with Seb Davis for years, and it's getting a bit frustrating that as much better as he's getting, he was notorious. He was good for 2 or 3 penalties for dropping a shoulder in. And it just seems to be this bit of laziness where he just doesn't quite get his arm up. And if you're going to do that, if you're not going to get that arm up, you're looking like a red. I mean, yes, the player dipped ever so slightly, but not enough to warrant it, frankly. And
fair enough.
I mean, speaking of, I thought the Eddie James yellow card was incredibly harsh.
I'm surprised you didn't mention this, Carwyn. We didn't talk Eddie James yellow, nor did we talk about the clear and obvious forward pass that that game.
Well, by the movement by the laws of world rugby, that pass was perfect. Eddie James was never a yellow card.
For me, it was a
Sam Lousy was.
Sam Lousy was absolutely, yeah.
On Rodri Jones, I thought he got very lucky there.
The law book, I know, right, about momentum and the hands going backwards. You are absolutely right. However, I watched that back several times, and I'm still telling you it was a forward pass. But I'm not going to argue about it now.
That's
still my opinion. I watched it. It's forward. It was a forward pass. It didn't even go that back of the hands. I'm not going to get to this now, but it was a forward.
I believe the Kiwis call that aggressively flat.
Aggressively flat, yeah. It was forward, let's be honest. Right.
So yeah, just to wrap up, everything. So
yeah.
Weirdly, Cardiff seemed to play better as soon as we went down to 14 and down to 13.
Yeah, scored as well.
Yeah. And also, I don't think I've ever seen a Davis get sin-bin or get sent off for both teams before. Because it just happened to be the replacement scrum half Luke Davis go off the Ospreys.
I was kind of hoping you'd get your full back row sent off. I haven't seen that before either. But boo! You number 8.
I know that. I mean, it makes it was like, right, we did the whole back row get score a try against the Sharks, so we're going to all have cards for the next game.
Okay, right.
I think Alan Lawrence and Big Mac were too good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to move on now. Well, Carwyn, do you have anything to say before we move on about this game? Any thoughts? What did you make of it? Or
well. Let's be honest, the Scarlets beat Cardiff twice. So if the Ospreys couldn't get the job done against Cardiff again in the playoffs, then they would have deserved it. But a bit like I can't remember who they played in the penultimate game of the season, but it was always a case again against Cardiff. I expected them to get the bonus point. It was just when would they do it? As in, they've just got such a dominant pack and players in there who know their way to the tie line. So it was always going to be an Ospreys win, and just nice to see Cardiff stick to their tradition of being within 7 and losing.
The bonus point kings, but it's now better than the Dragons, who don't pick up any bonus points and keep losing. Cardiff keep losing, but they're getting something out of it. Dragons don't, and they do accumulate these bonus points. So
Scarlets won the game more than them, but finished 5 points behind them in the table. So it shows if you stick in games,
it does.
Get rewarded.
I presume you're equally sympathising with Edinburgh fans who managed to win 11 games and aren't in the top 8.
No, then it's Scotland.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, do you know, if we took away all the bonus points, it would be 2 points behind you. So I mean, it's not. We'd still both be 2 of the worst teams in the league. So it's not really. It's not much to hang on to there.
No, exactly.
Oh dear. Okay then. So now Lee wanted us to talk about this, and if he was on the pod, he would have gone into his usual ramblings, I'm sure. He wanted to talk about the attendance. So the official attendance at Judgement Day was 20,167 people. Now, James, you was there with me, as well as Catboy, and we met up with Gav as well. We had a good day, didn't we? And Yeston, of course, right at the end. Yeah, nice bloke, Yeston, actually. First of all, never in a month for Sundays was there 20,000 people there. I'm telling you now, it's not 20,000. There might have been 20,000 tickets sold. They may have included season ticket holders or given away, whatever. But I'm telling you now, there was not 20,000 people in that stadium. The second thing is, it was never going to be a sellout. Let's be honest. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, the fact that the location was out of the city centre. The fact that you had to walk. How long did it take us, James? Was it 25 minutes, half hour to walk from the centre of Cardiff to CCS?
Yeah.
It was about that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took about half hour. So that it's not ideal. It was okay, but it's not really ideal, when you just want to go out of a pub and go straight into the stadium. And obviously the region struggles. I know Ospreys haven't struggled as much, but there is a bit of doom and gloom around Welsh rugby at the minute. So there are factors building up to why that was a poor attendance. And I saw Tom Shankland's comments on Scrum 5. He gets a lot of mentions on this pod, Tom. He's going to think we have an agenda against him. I quite like Tom Shankland, but he said that he thought the pitch looked bad. I didn't get that impression, but he was talking about players slipping. He said that it wasn't a suitable venue for it. What did we think of it then, Judgement as a whole? Like, was this a success? Would you say that this year's event was a success?
No, ultimately it's not. We can't, because if there was 20,000 there announced gate-wise, clearly I said that I said going there, I said be more interested in what the drop-off is between two games. My issue is, if you're not going to host it in the Principality, then you take it around the region. Obviously, there's only 3 stadiums you could take. You couldn't take it to anywhere in Newport, unfortunately, because there's no facility big enough. So take it to the Swansea.com, take it to the back of Scarlets. Now, as it happens, you couldn't take it to Swansea.com because Take That to performing. So they were setting up for that. But you could take it. No fucker performs in the back of Scarlets, not even the Scarlets. So you could have taken it down there. But you could still sell 14,500. You could still sell 22,000, which is the capacity at Swansea.com. So I think if you're not going to host it there, don't host it at the Cardiff City Stadium. It was nice enough. It's a nice stadium. I'd never been myself.
It is nice.
Decent. It is, it's a walk, but it was fine to get to.
Yeah.
And I have no issues with that. The thing is, I was at the last Judgement Day, right? And there's just a different buzz when you're in, I was sat at the City Arms, or you're in Tiny Rebel, or you're in Brewdog, or whatever. And there was 41,000. You can feel 41,000, and it's just the stuff like the marketing. This marketing's been non-existent. How you market something to someone matters. What incentive are you giving a family to go to Judgement Day? What are you giving mini rugby teams to go to Judgement Day? It's poor. And Malcolm Wall, who said, we want to be improving Judgement Day every year, whatever that stupid quote was, he needs a rain check up, like, because quite frankly, it's getting ridiculous now. And there needs to be heads need to be hunted. And Tom Shankland is absolutely correct in what he's saying, which is a sentence you'll never hear me say again. But credit to the fans that turned up. That they made decent noise. Yeah. It was a happy event. It wasn't like people getting pissed and that Principality can tend to be. I thought it was a very positive one. The sun was out. It was a nice day. So on that, but no, it wasn't. It was not a success in the slightest.
Carwyn, any thoughts?
Yeah, the big issue for me is the time of the season's played at. Because 3 of the 4 teams had absolutely nothing to play for. They couldn't change places with each other in the table. They couldn't really change places in the table. They were sod all on. The first game, they could have had a 0-0 draw, not played it, and people stayed in City Arms for an extra hour and a half because there was absolutely nothing to play for. And it doesn't surprise me then that the atmosphere is flat, because you're going there to watch a game of rugby, which you're not really invested in, because the only thing was the Scarlets got a bonus point win. They gained nothing from it. It means nothing in the grand scheme of this season. It's been and another thing, they had like from what I've seen on social media, they had like a junior festival across the road in the Athletic Stadium. Now, it feels like that's a bit of a trek from the football ground to the Athletic Stadium, as well as having to cross 6 lanes of traffic. So unless you've got a car and you've driven to that car park, you're not going to go over there. So, for me, it's got to be in the centre of Cardiff. So many things happen in the centre of Cardiff, and they're successful because they're slap bang in the middle of the city. There's people who walk by, happen to see these things, and go in because of it. So for me, the big thing, you need to get it back to the Principality, because more people will go there because it's at the Principality to start with, and get it at a time in the season when there's potentially more resting on the game. I've seen next season, as in round 15, still a bit late for me in the season because
it is too late. Yeah.
By then there's a good chance there won't be much on it in terms of fighting with each other. Hopefully there will be, but get it before Christmas when there's hunger
Something
there.
writing on
before
it. Something writing on it. Yeah.
Yeah, almost like a taster session before the Christmas derbies. But that's
Make
my
it
opinion.
round 1. Make it round or October half term.
Why not? Exactly.
October half term would be better, or maybe you make that the sort of big. You either make that like the big Boxing Day, New Year's Day, or round about that time.
No,
so obviously, like,
right. I was hoping someone says, do not touch Boxing Day or New Year's Day. Right.
Revenue's too important, I think.
There's none of this woke nonsense, right, that Ospreys have now got Scarlets on Boxing Day and Cardiff on New Year's Day in cap, right? As how it should be, right? And I speak to Scarlets fans about this as well. They love they love going to Swansea on Boxing Day. It's their big year out. It's their one trip away a year. Is they go, but it is though. It's that's tradition that needs to be kept. That needs to be kept, and Carwyn would agree with that.
Definitely.
Just going for someone who. So me and my family, we did, even when we weren't massively into going to the region, going to watch Cardiff every weekend. We always went to, from the very first Judgement Day. This is the first one that I've missed.
Yeah,
and I didn't feel like I missed out. And that to me, I think, was the biggest criticism. The other thing is 20,000 tickets. You could reasonably expect, if you just split that and just said Cardiff play their home game, Scarlets play their home game where they are, you probably have had the total. I mean, the one big argument of Judgement Day, it's one big game for the regions to actually get a bit of revenue from things. The reason why they changed it so it's not always Cardiff and Dragons home game, and then they alternate between the two, is they changed the ticket revenue. Now it's 40% for the two home teams, 10% for the two away teams. So when you're selling 60,000 tickets, great, because that, and it really jacks up the average attendances of the year. This year, it's not going to have made a dent, really. Which is all right for Cardiff and Scarlets. We're actually on upward trends. Dragons are staying about where they always are, and then Ospreys have had which baffles me. I don't get why I'm not going to go into an argument on the pod. But yeah, it just felt wrong. I do quite like the fact it's Easter weekend. It's a bit annoying for me because I've got to get down from Cardiff down to Devon because I've got a game that I'm already signed up to play this for like my third consecutive one of this particular not so friendly game that I play, and it's quite nice because it's my 20 minutes in the second row, usually getting folded in half somehow. But yeah, I just miss the vibe. And again, if there's nothing to play on it, I would like it early on in the season. When I said sort of like roundabout books, if you look at the derbies again this season, so this season Cardiff basically had played everything by New Year's Day. It's going to be the exact same thing next year. I think it's the same for Scarlets as well, I think. And you're then holding on to this, we basically needed Dragons to win last round. For there
Straight
to be
away, as soon as you
on,
said we
on
need
it,
Dragons to win, you're asking.
Exactly.
You're asking too much already.
It was basically, and also it has led to some very fantastic anomalies that we haven't had, with every region beating one region home and away, losing to one region home and away, and then beating and then winning either home or away with the other, which would have been really nice for a geek like me. But yeah, I just didn't. The vibe was off, and again, marketing. My wife only realised, who again has been coming to Judgement Day since we started going out for like the last 10 years or so. She only realised it was Judgement Day when I put the game on the telly.
She did.
I said she's a very. I mean, she's normally a Scarlets fan, but she's a very plastic Scarlets fan, especially since we have them about.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not as many as the Ospreys fans who don't seem to turn up to the stadium, but are more than happy to get engaged on social media.
Okay, yeah, right. So we'll move on. Well, before we move on, my only final word is I enjoyed Judgement Day. I did enjoy that first game, not just because we lost, but the performance was just really shitty from the Dragons. They did spoil the day for me a little bit to be that bad. I was expecting a better performance, didn't get one. So first game was a little bit grim for me. The second game I really enjoyed. I do agree with you all. I thought it was one of the best Welsh derbies out of recent years. The atmosphere was flat to begin with. It did get much better during the second game. And yeah, James is right. All of a sudden, there was Cardiff fans pouring in, making noise. It was really good. Next time this happens, where there's a scheduling cock-up, and it has to be, if they're considering moving to the CCS, next time don't. Just scrap Judgement Day. Just let the regions have their home games, because it didn't really work, this one. As much as I enjoyed it, and it was great to be there, it was great to meet up with James, Catboy, Yestin. It's always been a good social event, Judgement Day. That's why I like going to them. But this didn't really work. I don't think we can call it a success. It was a disappointing crowd. So if we're in this situation again, where the unions fucked up the scheduling and there's no room in the calendar for it to have it at the Principality Stadium, just scrap it. Just scrap it and let the regions have their own games. But yeah, that was my thoughts on Judgement Day. But okay, let's move on then. Harley, you've got some stats for us, and could you give us a rundown of the Prediction League, please?
What do you want first? Do you want Prediction League, or do you want the less than fun and exciting stats?
Oh, let's do the Prediction League, because I'm quite keen to know what happened here. Because it was double points, wasn't it, if I remember? So
yes, it was double points. And I'm afraid you kind of got shafted by Lee getting 8 points in the first game, and you only getting 4. So basically, the question is, I mean, James did get the best prediction for the Ospreys game, being the only one to predict an Ospreys win, which again, baffling. I want to ask. That's why I asked to check yours, because I went, "Are you sure you said Cardiff?" Before we
I did.
Anyway,
he wishes he went with my one now, didn't he? Because I said no. He said Ospreys by 9.
Yeah, but the rundown is now. So in 4th place is James with his freshly trimmed taint, with 141 points. Then it's Lee, who just about managed to stay above him in 3rd place, 145. Then we go up to Jamie on 173, and then I have got 186 in my final thing. And then actually looking at, like, in terms of the how far off in terms of number of points, I'm still in the lead with Jamie, but Jamie was only 31 points off in terms of like the actual number of the difference between the actual score and what we predicted. So that's still hella close over 18 games.
Yeah. Congratulations on your win.
Yeah. Thank you. I wish that win could have been added onto Cardiff's tally times 5.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm the only team left in the competition, am I the only one allowed to make a prediction this weekend and thus get extra points?
No,
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
We can do like a mini cup competition if you want, but I don't think a one-round competition is any use.
We will come on. We've got 3 games left, man.
Right, Ali, what's the stats, mate? Because we got a lot to get through.
Just basically, just going through some of the things, just so I thought people just know just where actually the Welsh teams we're all arguing over each other, and I'd argue, other than the Ospreys and certain things, we're all pretty piss poor. So just going through, so average points scored, you can see. So I'm just going to do this as an average score line. So first number is the ones we score, average score. The other one's the sort of thing. So Cardiff, on average, is 20. Our games would be 22-23. We're scoring 3 tries, conceding 3 tries. Dragons are looking at 17 points to 34, with scoring 2 tries, conceding nearly 5. Ospreys 23-25, 2 point, scoring 2 tries, conceding 3. Scarlets on average score 17 points, same as Dragons, but only concede 32 points. And then that's again, they score 2 tries but concede. So I was misread the line for the Ospreys. The Ospreys actually score 3 tries a game. It's the Scarlets score only 2 tries a game but concede 4. In terms of the way we are ranked in the URC, Cardiff come out as 11th in attack. Then it's Ospreys on 13th, Scarlets on 14th, Dragons on 16th, which, as you were saying, Jamie, I suppose their defence, I think it just shows how much do the pump most of our teams are, because Cardiff come out as number 1, then it's Ospreys at 3rd, Scarlets at 6th, and Dragons at 13th.
Well, no defence coach.
There's always a lot of confusion around their rankings, but I mean, a big thing for Cardiff is we make a lot of tackles and we make a lot of turnovers. That sort of shifts up. In terms of kicking game, Ospreys are 9th, Scarlets are 16th, which is unsurprising as they just point blank refuse to ever kick. Then you got Cardiff and Dragons at 10th, 11th. Scrum. Now this is one that I think will shock a lot of people. Cardiff is 2nd. Ospreys are only 12th. despite winning the second most scrum penalties. Then it's Scarlets in 15th, Dragons 16th. Lineouts.
Yep.
Dragons actually 6th in the league on terms of lineout.
Yes,
Ospreys,
we've had a good lineup. Yeah.
Ospreys 12th, Scarlets 13th. Cardiff 16th. Yeah, well, no, it's terrible. I think one of the big things that drops us down is lineout steals, which is something that pushes Scarlets up. Which is a shame that, Via Fafita and Sam Lousy aren't Welsh qualified, because then Scarlets would have a few more names in the thing. Discipline, then, this is the absolute fucking kicker for 3 of the 4 of us. We are 15th, 14th, 16th, and one of us is 9th. Guess which team is 9th?
Is it the one in 8?
Scarlets.
It is the one in 8th, yes. Cardiff 14th, Scarlets 15th, Dragons 16th, and basically the only difference between... So Dragons and Scarlets have both conceded 197. We're the next worst on 177. Dragons are one lower than, by virtue of 2 red cards to none. So Scarlet's got no red cards this season, which is the first in I don't know how long. So they should be proud of that. Cardiff, best in the league, we got 5. Which, I'll be honest, every single one of them is, well, I think bar one, which you might argue is unlucky, but all of them are stupid decisions and poor tackle choice.
Honestly,
so,
I've seen Nazi war criminals who had less penalties than Cardiff did this season. Like it's
well,
genuinely...
clearly not as bad as those two, because they had nearly 20 more.
Yeah, but you had red cards. You had 5 red cards.
It's still only 1 penalty.
Ellis Jenkins had 2, and he only played about 6 games.
He played 3 games and got red carded in 2 of them. It's impressive.
Right. Are there any other stats then, Harley?
They are the overviews. If you want, I can go and pick like a particular bits of stats, but I mean they're all a bit over the place, really. So like Cardiff are 11th in attack, but we're 12th, 13th in most of the big ones. But then we go up a bit because we've made a lot of clean breaks and beaten defenders, and even then that's still only 7th. So if there's something someone's really interested in, but otherwise it's not really worth the effort.
Okay, thank you for that, Harley. Right, James, I'm going to come to you now because time is against us. Ospreys in the playoffs, Friday night, 7:35, live on S4C. This game, I thought it'd be on BBC Two Wales on Business of Friday, but it's not. It's on S4C.
Nope, because
can I get a quick? What's happening on Friday? Should I be aware?
No, because it's just that's how the rights work, because it'll be broadcast on Irish telly, won't it?
No, I thought there was an event going on. Okay.
No, it's because it's broadcast. We'll be piggybacking off the Irish feed, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. So, quick preview and your prediction for Friday night.
So, in terms of squad, we're still pretty settled. I'd be very surprised to see if there were any changes from the Cardiff game. There were no injuries as far as I know. From a Munster point of view, they put out an injury report today. Anton Frisch is the big one as he returns to training. But they have lost Rory Scannell, Tom Ahern, which is a big one, and Joey Carberry. So that takes the injury list up to Dave Kilcoyne, Roman Salanoa, Jean Klein, Paddy Patterson, Patrick Campbell, and Alex Nankerville, as well as the ones I've just listed. Look, there are no expectations for the Ospreys to go in and win this game. Right? Anyone who says any different is a fool or just hates the Ospreys, which, to be fair, is most people. No, you go into the defending champions. Sold out Thomond Park. It's going to be mental. We pushed them pretty far at home, and actually, barring 2 interceptions and a free kick, as well as Cuthbert's hamstring, and probably a few decisions for Harley Davidson that didn't go our way. We took them to the limit, I think. So it'd be interesting to see just how we approach this game mentally. Obviously we'll come on to it. We've only had 6 players selected in the Wales squad that can do things for morale. So hopefully now that Toby's able to just keep the boys motivated as we go into a week. Lance Bradley was on BBC Radio Wales this morning. He spoke really well. There's just nothing but, and to borrow a phrase from Matt Sherritt, there's nothing but pride for my team. nothing but just admiration for a group of boys who have such a strong culture that we've got over the line. You know, for all intents and purposes, our season was dead and buried multiple times this year. Edinburgh away, sniffing up that win, fucking up that lineup at the end. Munster not getting the 2 bonus points, getting tonked by 60 points in two games on the bounce that tanked our points difference. So, you know, to get over the line, yes, there was some luck involved in terms of results having to go our way, but you do make your own luck as well. And we've gone out, we've beat the Stormers away, we've beaten the Lions away and at home. You know, so you make your own luck in that sense. Yeah. So nothing but admiration. I think the key is keeping the boys motivated, keeping them on the ground. Go out there, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it, I think.
Okay, so let's have a prediction from you then.
Just because I'm an optimist, I'll go Ospreys by 6.
Ospreys
it won't
by
happen,
6.
but I'll go Ospreys by 6. That'll go in the spreadsheet. I'll put it on record.
Okay, Carwyn, I know as a one-night Turk, you'd be fully getting behind the Ospreys on Friday night, won't you?
Well, funny enough, I think the draw has fallen in their favour. They could have had a much tougher trip for a quarter-final. I also think Warren Gatland has given Toby Booth the easiest team talk in history. He'll just have to read the squad out. He'll just have to read the Wales squad out on Friday night to rally the troops. And I don't know. There's something been about the Ospreys this year. When their backs have been against the wall, they've ground out a result.
Yeah.
And crazier things have happened, but I think they can do it. I honestly think the way that 48 hours ago, 72 hours ago, they had 2% chance of making the playoffs. They've now had to book flights to go to Ireland for Friday. Ospreys by 8, like a 29-21 win for the Ospreys. Like that. Yeah, I generally think the way the squad's been announced today and the amount of pissed off Ospreys players in training tomorrow, they'll have a point to prove. And what better way to prove that point than winning at Thomond Park?
Okay, that's interesting. Harley, I'm guessing you're going to lean on the side of Munster. What's your prediction for this one?
The head says Munster are going to win, but as I said, I really, really want Ospreys to win. I don't think I've ever wanted an Ospreys win this much.
I just to clarify, I don't want them to win. I think they will win.
The true one-eyed Turk comes out now.
I want the game to get cancelled.
I mean, yeah. Speaking of like snippets to go ahead, things like, with Cassim, he's consistent now. I mean, Theo's unlucky, and basically we've picked Keelan Giles because Theo Kabanga got injured. That's gonna stick.
I was going to come on to that in a bit. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, right? Ospreys are basically doing a Munster now, and I mean this as they're sort of like the second big team. If you think like the capital your capital city is supposed to be the biggest, then it's this other one. They've got the point to prove because they're the ones who've actually won stuff. And it just fits a narrative well. And if there's one team that likes playing to a narrative, it's Munster. Unfortunately, the narrative is they're the team expected to win, so it'd be a very good narrative for Ospreys to win this chance.
So what's your score prediction? What are you going to go for?
I mean, I'm going to go with my head for this, as I always do. I'm going to go with Munster by about 12, just because I do think they are quite relentless, and they've hit form massively.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I think Ospreys have been fantastic this season. I've spoken about my love for Toby Booth. Yes, he is just like Ted Lasso. He absolutely is with the stuff he comes out with. Gav was right from the Dragon Slave Pod. He is Ted Lasso. But they've done an extraordinary job in very difficult circumstances. That win against the Stormers out in Cape Town, fully loaded Stormers. They've had some fantastic results playing against the Lions with a bunch of kids in the Challenge Cup to come back from the dead like they have. Whatever happens Friday night, they can hold their heads high. They have been by far the best first region. I will be backing them on Friday. I hope they do it. However, Munster at Thomond, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go for Munster win. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong on this one, but I'm going to go for Munster by 7. I just think home advantage is crucial for Munster. It's a very difficult place to go. And there's something about Munster this year, isn't it? Like they're always that weird team that they start the season, they stutter, don't they, in the first half of the season? Then all of a sudden they start picking up wins. And then all of a sudden, like they're like top of the table. I don't know how they do it. They are an incredible club.
It's the narrative.
The narrative.
They're really good at flattering to deceive because they'll do stuff like they'll lose the Dragons and then go on a really good run of form and then get pushed to the limit by Cardiff and have to escape via, certain means or things like that. So they're a really good team. They are the bad guys. They've worn that badge with pride over the years. So yeah, they're favourites, but
they are favourites.
No one loves an underdog tag more in recent years than us.
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, best of luck to the Ospreys. Hope they do it. I'll be fully behind them. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, and it's just nice to have a Welsh team in the playoffs because I said before the start of the season, I think one of our clubs do very well to get into the playoffs with the austerity, the budget cuts. Will it happen next season? I don't know, but fair play to Tony Booth and the boys.
With your fucking predictions as well, don't we all saw them?
Well, I predicted the Scarlets to be the best Welsh region, and I can only put that down to a moment of madness, quite frankly. I have absolutely no idea why I thought. But the funny thing is, when I wrote those predictions on Twitter, and then I had Dragons down as 14th, I had people saying to me, oh, that's a bit negative. I thought you put the Dragons higher. They got a good squad. Now's the season for them to kick on. I think they'll do better than that. No, they haven't yet again. They haven't done better yet again.
By the way,
I said Cardiff, yeah. No, I did. Well, I said they could be. I actually had Cardiff. What did I have them as? I'm not finding it now, but I did have them
above the Dragons. 15th ahead of Zebra.
In all fairness,
a team we struggled to draw against, so
in all fairness, you did only have 3 players at the time.
Exactly. So
for
being a bit happy with our season not being a complete shambles like the Scarlets, who didn't have such excuses.
Probably would.
In fact, they were signing more top quality international players, who were the players who were dragging them, kicking them, and screaming this season.
Right. I'll tell you my predictions. I just found my tweet. So I had the Scarlets at 9th. I had the Ospreys 11th. I had the Dragons at 14th, and I had Cardiff at 13th. Those were my pre-season predictions. So yeah, I was way off on a couple of them. But I didn't expect any Welsh team to make the playoffs, so fair play to Ospreys. And Cardiff have done much better than anyone predicted when you think about the off-field chaos. What was it, 2 coaches we said for the Scrum Fight podcast, 8 players, 2 coaches.
The story changes every time I walk by.
Well, it does, yeah, it does change.
I'll be honest, I think it depends on Richie Reese. When I asked that question of Matt Sherritt, he went, definitely wasn't that bad. I don't know where those look like. I think Richie's been going off.
Okay. Proper school teacher.
Yeah, I think Cardiff have done very well considering the circumstances. But okay, fine. That's URC. Now then. Yeah. Oh, I've been waiting for this.
Let's go to the real rants.
The Wales squad. Right then. The Wales squad was announced today as we record this on Monday. So Gatland has named his Wales squad for the summer test against South Africa and Australia. It's a 36-man squad to begin with. That's going to get reduced down to 34 men when they leave for Australia. So while I'm not going to read up the whole squad because we haven't got all night, it's quite a lengthy squad. So I'll just cherry pick the talking points. So there are 4 uncapped players in the squad. You've got Ellis Bevan and Jacob Beetham from Cardiff. You've got Keelan Giles from the Ospreys, and you've got Josh Hathaway from Gloucester. There's a return for Liam Williams, who we talked about earlier. He missed the Six Nations, didn't he, because of his club commitments in Japan. Henry Thomas is also back in the mix, who played in the World Cup. We'll talk about this in a bit. Unfortunately, there is a call-up for Corey Hill, who last played for Wales back in 2021, is currently playing third-tier rugby in Japan. Ben Carter, Dewey Lake, Jack Morgan, Tane Plumtree, and Chris Johnson return, having missed the Six Nations due to injury. There is no place in the Wales squad for the likes of Morgan Morris, yet again, Nicky Smith, Alex Mann, Johnny Williams, Ewan Lloyd, Mash Llewellyn, or James Ratty. Thomas Williams, we were told would be available for this tour. He's not going to be available for this tour following the ankle ligament damage he suffered back in March. So those are the talking points. We've all seen the squad. Let's start with you, Carwyn. What do you make of this squad? Because there's some very interesting selections here, isn't it?
Oh, it's it's an awful squad.
Get off the fence, Carwyn.
As in, I think this is the worst squad Gatland has picked. I'm not sure what he's trying to achieve. I know there are certain areas on the field we are suffering with a few injuries at the moment, but 5 tight heads, 2 second rows who probably shouldn't be anywhere near a Wales A squad, let alone a full first 15 squad. 1 outside half who's played regularly at 10 this season. It almost feels like he's chucked every Welsh player's name in a hat, and the first 36 names out have been picked for this Welsh squad. I was expecting a call. That's how sort of random this squad has been. God help us. God help us. As in, I don't know what style we're going to play. I find it very, very bizarre that we're picking a 3rd division player in a Japanese league. As in, I think there's a lot of young second rows currently playing in Wales who are much more deserving of a place on the plane. But there we are. I don't get paid the big bucks to make these calls, but very disappointing. And already not really looking forward to the summer matches because I'm flat after it. Very, very flat.
Okay, fair enough. James, I know you had a lot to say, didn't you, about the WhatsApp group about this squad. What are the talking points for you? I mean, as an Ospreys fan, I guess, yet again, Morgan Morris, for love nor money, as good as he has been season upon season, he just cannot get into that Wales squad, can he? What do you make of it all, mate?
Shit. As an Ospreys fan, it's really tough to see when you as a club have won more games than all 3 regions combined in all competitions, right?
I knew he was going to say that. This is Ospreys
but no, it is a fact. If we're going to go down the line of facts, this is a fact.
Yeah,
right? We've won 14 games. Yes, everyone else has won 30.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've got 3 regions whose packs, let's be fair, are not competitive, or front 5s at least. Back row for Cardiff is probably competitive for the most, right? Yes, Harley, I know the stats of scrums.
You can't lose as much, like you can't be that close in games without your packs being competitive. Yes, we lose a little bit of depth now and again when the Ospreys come to town because they are an incredibly good pack, but we're still holding up against the South African packs with decent players.
I'm talking about dominance now.
Yeah, but let's be fair. This World Rugby's depowering the scrum. But if you want to go on to things that do matter in the international game, I don't get why Morgan Morris isn't being picked, because when we did our stats podcast, both sides of the ball, he was better than every one of his opposition. That's where I think,
and the reason
scrums, they don't matter.
And the reason why he's given bollocks. He said that because Ospreys lost against a fully loaded Bulls and Munster team, Bulls and Leinster, sorry, that's the videos they looked at. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Oh, he had a quiet game against Cardiff. He was still top carrier. He still didn't miss a tackle. Stop with this just bullshit. Just say that you don't like him. Say he's not fit enough. Give proper feedback to why you're not going to call someone up. The whole point of the system is someone performs at regional level to then have a chance at international level. I said multiple times on this pod, I couldn't give a toss if Morgan Morris is crap at international level. The fact is, he warrants a place in that squad, right? I can say that about multiple. I put out a tweet today. Right? I was thinking, this is how pessimistic I am as an Ospreys fan. How I've become really is I tweeted out a thing of who I think is going to be in the Wales squad. So I put probables, possibles, and wildcards, right? I put 4 people down as probables. That's how little confidence I have in Warren Gatland in picking Wales players. 2 of them are Wales's co-captains, right? Of course they were going to get in the squad. There was no way Dewi Lake Jack Morgan wouldn't have been in the squad. Gareth Thomas is Wales's first choice loosehead. Of course he's going to be in the squad, right? And then Owen Watkin, because we have no other centres, right? That possibles. I went with Morgan Morris, Nicky Smith, Ruben Morgan Williams, Dan Edwards, Kieran Williams, James Ratty, and Keelan Giles, right? And Sam Parry should be there as well, right? 2 of them I was right on. James Ratty warrants a caller. Kieran Williams has been consistently excellent for 18 months. Dan Edwards was a possible, maybe on the fact of good performances. He goes out with an apprentice player. Ruben Morgan Williams, been consistently good. Nicky Smith has took every fucker to the cleaners for the past 2 years, at least, right?
It's criminal, isn't it? He really should be involved. Yeah.
And then I put some wild cards in as well, who are never going to get called up, but who would have been fun, right? But that doesn't matter. It's so demoralising as a squad when you've just come off the biggest high we've had since... This was the last time in the playoffs in 2017 that we then come crashing back down. Right, but I can't be asked to focus on the negative bit. I can't be asked to focus on the fact that yes, Gatland said he wants a mobile pack, so he's called up Kemsey Mattress, right, instead of Nicky Smith. It's not worth my just stressing over. What is worth stressing over is Keelan Giles, right? Because this kid got earmarked years ago. I remember he was supposed to go on the under-20s tour and got a phone call saying he's going to New Zealand. Never got on the plane. Was on the bench for Japan. Never got on. Right? And then has had 2 horrific knee injuries. Come back. He's been consistently good. He's scored 7 tries, I think 9 all competitions. And then Gatland puts out this, and this is quoted from Wales Online now from the Gatland press conference, right? This has done me in. For Keelan, he's been consistent with with Ospreys. He's consistent now. Theo's unlucky to get injured as he was an option. For us, is the big thing. We wanted to make sure we had those positions covered in training, so we didn't have to put a different back in there. So that tells me 2 things now, right? That Keelan was never the first choice. Cabango was, which means there would have been 10 Cardiff players there, and 5 Ospreys. Again, I'm not blaming the Cardiff players. They do not pick the squad. Right? I said this to Harley. That's up to the selectors, and I've said congratulations to Cardiff as well. But he's being called up to hold tackle bags. And for me, that's just wrong. The fact that you admit that in the media, and Carwyn's exactly right, that Gatland has written Toby Booth's and Mark Jones's speech this week.
Okay, fair enough.
Because that guy up there doesn't rate you. We do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to come to Harley now, because the regional representation of this squad is Cardiff have got 9 players. They've got the most players in the Wales squad. Scarlets have got 6. Ospreys have got 6. Dragons have got 5. And I'll be honest, I was surprised we had 5 Dragons in there. But yeah, so it's 9 for Cardiff, 6 for Scarlets, 6 for Ospreys, Dragons by 5. Now, Harley, I've seen a lot of comments on social media from disgruntled people who are saying, why is it that Ospreys are clearly the best team in Wales? We've only got 6, but Cardiff have got 9. Be honest, do you think that's a fair criticism?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to go with my feelings on this, right? What I want to be talking about is Ellis Bevins had a fantastic season, probably been up there with the best scrum half in 9. I can't because the best scrum half in Wales who isn't injured, because Thomas Williams, I think when he was fit, was far and away the best, is Ruben Morgan Williams. He is not in there. I want to talk about Jacob Beetham's been getting a good full, him and Cam Winnett being fantastic at the fullback for Cardiff. But what I've got to now talk about is, what on earth if we had Cam Winnett, who was arguably the best Welsh player and the only position where we didn't seem to have any issues at the Six Nations, we've now brought in his predecessor to come and fill in. I don't see the logic in that. I don't see what Liam Williams would bring to that. I want to talk about, it's great that, Evan Lloyd and Mackenzie Martin having great, they've had great breakthrough seasons. It would be nice to watch good. But I'm sat there thinking, Morgan Morris is statistically one of the best 8 both sides of the ball, right? You could turn around and say he's not the kind of 8 we're looking for. Because if you look at Aaron Wainwright, and I'd say probably Big Mac's sort of in that mold, but not really. And then I would say your third choice is probably Dane Plumtree. You know, they're more edge forwards, whereas Morgan Morris is very much more direct carrier, you know, a work rate thing. If you said that, fine, no worries. But you're just looking at it and it doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, we want consistency of selection, but we've dropped Yohan Lloyd and Kai Evans. Oh, we want to look at options, but we're bringing in Corey Hill from fucking nowhere. Apparently, I don't know, maybe he's going to be in charge of team fines or something and go collecting at the Australian team's house. It's beggars belief. You know, like I reckon, you know, I think like Josh Hathaway, he just openly said, we're not, you know, if we didn't select Josh Hathaway, give him a cap and South Africa game, and he got capped by England, we'd just have more people complaining the same way of the bloody what's his face, Emmanuel Faye-Robosa thing.
Yeah,
just annoying narratives. I mean, like Ben Thomas has been one of the best 12s, and if you want your 12 to be a certain solid play, I think in Wales he's probably one of the best. But again,
he's been good. Yeah,
Keith from Neath has been excellent. Johnny Williams, as much as I don't want to admit it, for what he does, his limited game plan that he's asked to do.
Carwyn's pulling faces. I'm not sure he agrees with that. You don't agree with that, Carwyn?
I don't think he's done enough. I don't think he's done enough this year to warrant a place on the plane. As in, it didn't surprise me that he wasn't in the squad, if I'm honest. And partly because he's been played at 13 and he's not a 13 and he's been trying to crab in to the Eddie James lane. So, yeah, I wasn't overly surprised that he wasn't in the squad then. I
mean, Eddie James has basically ended up playing as inside centre and then Johnny Williams is in his centre. But still, I'm surprised that option isn't there. You know, the second row thing makes no sense. James Ratty, demonstrably, both sides of the ball, one of the best second row performers in Wales. I mean, the only one better is Rhys Davies, who's crossed. So fair enough, he's not in. It just, I mean, with the 5 tight heads, 3 of these tight heads aren't going to be available for the first game anyway. Well, I don't know what the Henry Thomas situation is, but it just makes sense. I think it makes more sense with the 4 hookers because now Evan Lloyd can actually be sat there as a development player. Sam Parry should have been in that squad in the first place, in the Six Nations squad in the first place. The loose heads again. It's like he's gone. Well, he's basically gone same again. He doesn't like Nicky Smith for whatever reason. No, again, Screech. I'll be honest. If you look at his stats,
it's an odd one, isn't it? Because he's a good club player, Screech. He is a consistently solid club pro, but is he international standard? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure his club standard at times. Like when you look at how Ratty and Morgan
don't
Jones
worry, we're playing Screech and Ben Carter in Wales.
Leave Ben Carter alone. I like it. Go on, carry on.
Do you remember last time we played that?
Yeah,
we had Josh Turnbull on the bench for that game. I think it was one of the Argentina game we lost.
I think it's a Canada game, wasn't it?
It was a Canada Argentina. I can't remember.
Are you sure, Josh?
Was it the Summer Canada one?
A couple of names that I just want to say that haven't been put in though. Ryan Elias has chosen not to be selected, which says he would have gone probably at the cost of Sam Parry. Will Rowlands has said he's basically having a rest, which to be fair, he's been flogged in the top 14. Don't blame him. Josh Adams, no rest. Thomas Francis is basically being kept in reserve for. I think what will happen is the summer before either the Six Nations or the summer before the World Cup will still be in Shit Creek tight head-wise, and he's just going to parachute him in. But I'll be honest, it's not the most inspiring fight. I mean, I want to cheer him on, but I don't think I can even. I know I'd have to have paid for Sky Sports and Now TV or whatever to watch some of these games. And I'll be honest, if Corey Hill's on that team sheet, I'm not watching. And,
okay, so
he'll come collect it for you. Don't worry.
Let's talk about this then. So the biggest headline for me was Corey Hill being recalled. Now, remember on the pod, was it last week or the week before, there was a report circulating out of Japan that he was going to be recalled, and we was all saying, no, we hope this isn't true. We don't want this to happen. We all know what happened, that incident, the debt collecting, terrorising a young family in their home. Now, Carwyn, does this selection of Corey Hill leave a sour taste in the mouth for you? Because for me, it does. It really does.
Oh, massively. As in, he left under a cloud, and rightly so he left, because what happened, no region was going to offer him a contract. I think if anybody else did that, they'd probably been caught with criminal charges up against them. The fact that he's now been brought back into the international setup is disgusting, and it makes a mockery to me that you've got to earn the right to play for your country. It's a privilege to play for your country. And if you're banging on doors, breaking into houses, the wrong houses, on top of that, you don't. That's not the role model you want to see representing your country. I think it's an awful selection, and I'd really like to know Gatland's thought process behind it, because I can't see anybody outside his immediate family and friends being happy that he's been recalled to the Welsh squad.
Nobody's been calling for Corey Hill, like not one person I've seen that say let's recall Corey Hill. James, thoughts on that? Corey Hill.
What Gatland has turned into is Craig Woodward. He's holding on to his safety blankies, right?
Okay.
It's that 2019, because obviously you can't call it the 2013, 2012 squad because they're all retired. So what's next? Oh, I'll call it my 2019 squad, right? And Corey Hill should not. He's been playing third division rugby in Japan.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So as a player, Corey Hill was fine. Corey Hill was a good player, good for the Dragons. He was great in that 2019 World cycle, so to say, that 2019 World Cup, so Six Nations. Yeah. But as a human, he didn't even lead under a cloud of smoke. He left as a disgrace. Let's not dress it up as if like he was accused of something. Like he fully was lobbing bottles at a woman's house with young children inside. That is despicable. And yet he's been called up to this Wales squad.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. And do you know the worst thing though? He's never made a public apology. He made an indirect apology through Cardiff Blues, and I can't remember who else, might have been a WRU. But I was reading our article back today. The mum said, I never had an apology from him. He haven't even apologised to that person.
He's apologised to Gatland, according to Gatland. So it's
that's fine. Okay then.
Fine then, yeah.
That's all right then. Yeah.
Come on down.
No. Harley, thoughts on Corey Hill? I guess that you're the same as us. I know you're not pleased about this either.
Yeah,
Harley?
Just gonna go. Sorry, I'm going to go. Sorry, I missed what you said because I was in the middle of a coughing fit.
Sorry, yeah, Corey Hill.
Yeah, I'll go as far as say I will not. Whilst he's playing for Wales, I will not give the W a single penny. One of my penny. It won't make much of a difference, but I'm not going to. And if Cardiff sign him, I will not give them a penny. I will not go to any games. I will not buy any merch. I will not ask anyone to promote. I will not promote the game because I find some things are just like. It's just unforgivable. That's fucking shambolic behaviour of any person. And you're right, he should have faced criminal charges, that sort of thing. And even if you want to take all these personal feelings aside, are you seriously saying third division of Japanese rugby, which, let's be fair, at that point, it's mostly semi-pro. Yeah. You're saying that's better than anything the regions have. Talk about team talks for all the regions. How do you expect the regions to cooperate with all your bullshit? Let's say, I want so-and-so to play in all the time. Just
point of order.
Fuck off.
You have no team talks left. Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
You have to get that one in.
I didn't realise.
Oh, you have to get it in.
That's it. We're never playing again. To be honest,
send Toby that clip to tell James Ratty he's picked a third division Japanese player over you. The rage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's
right. So none of us like this squad, then, do we? Do you feel like the squad at all?
The core of the squad is fine. There's nothing new. Like we're acting as if this is some sort of like bombshell. There's 4 uncapped players in there. Like the core of the squad is exactly what we've expected, right? The core of it is great. Look at you think the Derry Lake, Gareth Thomas. David Jenkins, Chris Chins are a very good players. Ben Carter's a decent regional level player, can translate well, hopefully, to international. Right, Tame Plumtree has promise. You've got Aaron
Matthew
Wainwright's
Screech?
in there. Yeah, no,
Thoughts on
Matthew
Matthew
Screech. Matthew Screech can make them flat whites. I think if
Oh.
Sam Costello could put a run of games together in a Wales shirt, that could work. Owen Watkins been there and done it. He won. There are players. The core of that team is fine, right? Chris Chinzer's back. I hope he gets a good run at games, right? But it's just marred with stupid decisions. To call up the likes of Liam Williams, call up the likes of Corey Hill, all right?
I think we've got a good 15, but
Yeah.
after that first 15, the drop in quality is massive. That's the issue.
It says that we all. Justin Tipperick is still good enough to play international rugby, right? He walks into that team, and arguably as captain.
100%.
Only because I didn't like him as a captain, but
he's never really
actually
given the right
walks into the
opportunities of Wales as captain. I will say that, but he walks into that team, right?
Yeah.
You think like there is no, apart from Jack Morgan. I probably wouldn't even count Derry Lake in this because Jack Morgan led us through the World Cup. Jack Morgan's the only leader in there, the only person that's going to take you forward.
I mean, David Jenkins as well, to be fair. I mean, to take away the Six Nations ones, I thought quite, but when he captains extra,
maybe, but
he's going to be starting the Australia test.
But Dav Jenkins's decision making in the Six Nations led me to believe that Jack Morgan is a lot better suited to it than Dav Jenkins.
I mean, you got to remember, we're all talking about the captain, but part of the reason why there's no captain name for this is one, I think Gatland hasn't got a fucking clue. But also, it's more about a leadership group. And I do feel like in the Six Nations, you were missing. Like Jack Morgan it's great because he had a Derry Lake to lean on. At the time, he had like more senior players. He had an Adam Beard, who I think works brilliantly as having as that extra defensive.
He's missing, absolutely.
Because I think he's probably one of the biggest losses, and I think our line out is going to really creak.
Okay, fair enough. Carwyn, any final reflections on this squad then before we wrap it up?
I think we're going to make South Africa and Australia look very good, and even I think we make the Queensland Reds look like World Cup beaters. I just think if you've got a team who have made the playoffs and you pick 6 of their players, 2 of which play in the same position, then there's something majorly wrong with the squad selection. The Ospreys aren't filled with international foreign stars. They are predominantly homegrown players who have just been ignored. And Toby Booth must be laughing knowing that he'll have a full fit squad at the start of next season because there's so little boys going away. I'm just disappointed that Gatland hasn't picked on form. As in 6 Scarlets players, do they warrant that? I don't know, but I'm glad they're there.
Just to say something about the Queensland Reds game, how good would it have been to see a Wales A team, essentially? Like a backline, Ruben Morgan-Williams or Ellis Bevan, Dan Edwards to Eddie James to Joe to an Iron Owen or Joe Westwood. How good would it have been to see that? But what instead is we're going to see fucking Matthew Screech in the second row with Chris Chinzer. We're going to see. I forgot the Queensland Reds game existed. That's even worse now. Because I wouldn't care if they weren't capped. They're there. Oh, my God.
Oh, dear. So none of us are feeling confident or really happy in this squad. Now, I haven't read Ron Gatton's comments. Normally, there's a YouTube channel, Beanie Man Sports, I think it's called. They do videos of press conferences. So I'm going to have to watch Gatland's comments today because some of these selections, to me, are a little bit weird. The balance of the squad, and there are certain players in there who I don't think should be there, and there are players who definitely should be there. That's my reflection on it. It's all a bit weird, isn't it? But
stand-up comedy.
always a good debate.
Sorry.
Come on, then. Carwyn first, and then Harley before we wrap up.
So you also want to improve our collision dominance, whether that's attack or defence, and create some more depth and competition within the squad. That doesn't reflect the squad he's picked, but what do I know?
Okay.
Like collision dominance, it's like bottles hitting a woman's house, because it will certainly improve there.
It's not funny though, is it? We laugh about it. It's not funny at all.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
not
find that
funny.
really distasteful. Not your comment, just the fact he's been selected
No.
is pretty wrong. Sorry, Harley, what was you going to say?
So obviously we're talking about this Queens and Reds game and thinking, oh God, the squad we're going to pick for that. His comment in the presser was, we were looking to play against Samoa.
Right, okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Carl. I mean, for the audio listeners, just go check on the YouTube around about this time just to see Carwyn's face reaction to that one, because that basically sums it up.
I have to watch this interview, I think, because it's all getting a bit weird. The more I'm hearing what Gatman's saying, the more I'm starting to. And I'm a big Ron Gatman fan, as you know. I've always stuck up for him on the pod. I think he's an excellent coach, but I don't know. This second coming, it's just it's not working for me so far. Right, okay. Before we go, feeder pods. Harley, have you got a Cardiff Central pod coming up this week?
Yeah, yeah. We're committing to go through, so we will be giving out the Cardiff Central Podcast Awards, which this week sponsored by Manscaped.
Excellent, good stuff.
And then we'll just be reviewing Judgment Day but for 2 weeks start. So for next week, Francisco Isaac's going to come on and talk about the pains of being a first-time Cardiff fan.
He chose well, didn't he? Of all the teams,
he said he should have. He apparently messaged Hugh saying, "I should have picked the Dragons."
Oh, if he wants to experience real pain and be a proper supporter, then he would, because I think that no, I wouldn't wish that on him, to be honest. He seems like a nice guy. Carwyn, Scarlets Fever, you doing a pod this week?
There was talk last week that we were going to record one. No date confirmed yet, but yeah, I'm sure we will have a chat about squad reflection on Judgment Day and just look back on the season, because it's been a low light more than highlight. But yeah, it'd be good to just bring an end to it with a good pod.
Yeah, welcome to the world of the Dragons. That's what we feel every single season. James, you'll be doing a pod, will you? I assume.
Well,
what are you going to be talking about?
We're hopefully going to do one tomorrow, because in our pessimistic ways, we all, apart from me, actually no, I am as well. We all booked something for Thursday onwards. Because we assumed we weren't going to be doing anything. So Robbie actually booked to go on holiday. Yesterday's got stuff on, and I'm on another school trip. So yeah, we are hopefully going to record. We'll obviously go to Judgment Day and talk about the Wales squad, and we'll go preview properly the Munster game.
Yeah, fair enough. We probably will do a Dragon's Lair pod, me and Gavin. Don't really know what to talk about. Obviously, we will talk about Judgment Day in the season. I might open this up to the listeners. I might do a mailbox special, ask them to send in some comments and questions. Some of them are quite good, some of them are quite funny. I think that'll be interesting to see what they think about the Dragon season so far. And it's not been great, is it? But I probably will do a Dragons pod this week. I think, gentlemen, we will wrap it up there. So thank you very much, Harley and James, as always. Carwyn, thank you so much for stepping in for Lee. Much appreciated. Thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. And we'll be back next week where we'll chat Munster versus Ospreys. Hopefully we'll see a Welsh team progress further. And we'll probably have a reflect back on the seasons of our teams, which let's be honest, some have been good and some not been so good. But we'll look forward to that next week. But until then, take care and goodbye.
No star.
No star.